This Sunday at 7:45, a dapper, silver-haired violinist will walk onto the stage at Scarborough Spa's Grand Hall for the last time. After 27 years of unbroken 17-week summer seasons, Max Jaffa at the age of 74 is finally hanging up his bow and saying farewell to Scarborough. Three and a half thousand concerts over more than a quarter of a century have made Max Jaffa guardian of the tradition of music on the Spa. But he thought he was coming to Scarborough for just one season.
I was invited to come by the Scarborough Corporation, and having talked to him about it, I said, no, I didn't think that really was my thing. And I was being a bit sort of selfish and not giving it too much thought, because it would mean having to engage an orchestra and arrange to have a library of music that could be played. And I'd never done anything like that, you see. And so I said, well, thank you very much, but I'd rather not. And then Jean, my wife, chipped in and said, oh, you ought to. Just try it for 1 year, and I promise you that you will not only love it, and I'll show you some of the most beautiful countryside. And she was absolutely right. It is beautiful up here, and there is lovely countryside. But I've made a tremendous amount of friends over the years. It's always a great joy to go down to the Spa and play.
Max's audiences have grown old with him, their adoration maturing with the years. Many, like him, have scarcely missed a concert.
Never miss a first night and the last night, and most nights in between.
I've been coming down for 65 years, on and off. And I've grown to love music, and I think it's a great privilege, because he is a unique person. He's the most talented violinist. He's a marvelous entertainer. He has a fantastic rapport with the musicians and with the audience.
Andy has that knack of talking to people, getting us laughing, getting us singing.
The nightclub kind of entertainment isn't for everyone, and although we attract down at the Spa an elderly kind of person, there are a lot of young people who come here as well.
I brought my 7-year-old granddaughter a fortnight ago for the first time. She said, could she go see Max Jaffa? And she enjoyed every moment of it.
I can't think of anybody who would want to go to hear the same thing night after night after night after night. But then, you know, I'm speaking as a musician. And when I look down and see the same faces and see them year after year after year, I think, well, really, it's a great tribute. And I'm rather sort of humble about that.
Some fans build their entire holidays around Max. Others, with a devotion worthy of any pop fan, travel long distances. The Silver Blues group from Grimsby bring a cake and a travelling repair kit.
That's gone wrong. Cut! I've started icing classes, and I thought it'd be rather nice to give him a cake. It'd be something, a little way of saying thank you. And so I did just that, brought a cake for him. And he was very pleased with it. I've done it each year since.
His violin, I'm sure, nearly makes it tough. It does. And he's with it.
And this music is like a breath of sea air, which we always get when we come to Scarborough.
He's a gentleman. I'm sure he's one of nature's gentlemen. And we all feel that way about him. He's great.
Oh, lovely to see you again. Lovely to see you again, Cheltenham.
Oh, you've done it again.
Yes.
Better than ever. Every year it surpasses itself. That's absolutely wonderful. If music be the food of life, play on.
What are your favourites?
Fascination, the selections from the Great Waltz, Sound of Music played last Thursday night, it was brilliant.
What's your favourite?
I told you, I like the gypsy music, yeah.
What sort of tunes? I mean, can you sort of hum us any?
I'm always doing that.
Max Jaffa's fans come in all shapes and sizes.
I need some kind of relaxation and something that would take me completely off what I'm doing in the wrestling ring.
So what do you do?
I go to see Max Jaffa.
So
in the
after
spa
wrestling somebody, I mean, and beating all kinds of hell out of them, you go in and listen to Max Jaffa?
I do. I find it absolutely wonderful. It brings every emotion out of me when he goes into the beautiful Merry Widow waltz and that. It completely takes me out of myself. And I go home humming the melodies that I've heard him play. And he stood the greatest test in the entertainment world. He stood the test of time.
For their money, audiences at a Max Jaffa concert get what they've been getting every summer's night for the last 27 years. A 14-piece orchestra, a guest singer, and music designed to lull the senses. For many, this comfortable predictability is the attraction. It's Max's proud boast that none of the music played is repeated within 3 weeks. So devotees can and do go to the concert every night of their holiday and hear a completely different program every time. But complete happiness for a Max Jaffa audience is when the guest singer is his wife, the contralto Jean Grayston.
So stately as a galleon I sail across the floor, doing the dear of glances as in the days of yore. I dance with Mrs. Tiverton, she whirls me round and round, but though she maneuvers me wonderfully well, I never get off the ground. So gay the band, so giddy the sight, I try not to get depressed, and it's done your power good to explode and get this lot off my chest.
One of the reasons Max and Jean Jaffa have stayed so long in Scarborough is the pleasure they take in their surroundings. As their contented fans return to hotels and boarding houses, Max and Jean retreat to an elegant house in the village of Scarborough. There, amidst the mementos of 60 years as a professional musician, his most treasured possession, a violin made in 1704 by Guarnerius Pietro of Mantua.
The violin is like a human being. A human being, especially an old human being, doesn't wake up in the morning and open his eyes and jump out of bed and leap into the bathroom and do all the things. They do it rather slowly, and it takes a little more time. This is an old violin, and that's the most wonderful thing you could say about it, that it's reacting in the way that a human being reacts. I practice my scales certainly for 20 minutes to half an hour every day. You must practice scales. And if you practice scales, then everything else becomes much easier. Not easy, but easier.
It all began for Max on his 6th birthday with an ultimatum from his father.
He came into my room and said, "My son, I wish you many happy returns of the day, and you're going to be a violinist."
After a scholarship to the Guildhall School of Music, Max got his first professional experience playing in hotel and restaurant orchestras. At the Piccadilly Hotel one lunchtime, he played to the legendary Fritz Kreisler, who gave him advice he's never forgotten.
He said, when you play a piece of music, give it the best performance you can. If you don't happen to like that particular piece of music, then give it a better performance.
Another idol, the man widely regarded as the 20th century's greatest violinist, Jascha Heifetz.
He had the greatest technique. I mean, he always played anything that was quick, a bit more quick than anybody else, but beautifully clean.
After the war, Max became a star as leader of the Max Jaffa Trio. With the pianist Jack Byfield and cellist Reg Kilby, he made the Palm Court style all his own.
We toured the world, and we played concerts practically every day of the week, and broadcasts and recordings and so on. In fact, almost lived together, the three of us. And over a period of some 30-odd years, I cannot remember one cross word.
A gentle sense of humour pervaded the trio's broadcasts. On one occasion, they busked to an audience outside the Royal Albert Hall. Perhaps it was memories of the Royal Albert Hall which this summer encouraged the Jaffas to help a Scarborough busker raise money for the lifeboat. In Scarborough, a public appearance by the Jaffas seldom passes unnoticed, but their appeal is not universal.
He's a comedian, isn't he?
The bird piano.
Max Jaffa?
Well, I've heard his name. Tell him, but I don't know who he is. Did you sing with Culture Club?
Those who have played with Max don't forget him. 150 musicians, many straight from college, have passed through the Spa Orchestra. Sarah Brooke now plays at the Royal Opera House Covent Garden. Jane Pickles with the BBC Concert Orchestra.
Well, we had to walk through the audience to get to the artists section, across the stage and then downstairs, and you'd hear sort of various comments like, "Ooh, she must be doing a solo tonight because she's got her solo frock on." And so you'd know that you were spotted before you even stood up to play.
But what about all that music?
And just a huge variety, I suppose. Having to cope with Strauss waltzes, Wagner overtures, Rossini, huge breadth of music that I had never encountered at the music college. I was straight out of college like Jane.
So when professional commitments permit, few of Max's former musicians can resist the opportunity to make a nostalgic return to Scarborough to spring a surprise on the man who gave them their break.
Well, hello, how are you? You know, so many people over the years have come and gone, but it's so lovely that they all come back at some time or other, even if it's just for a day, just say hello.
But it is tough in the Spa Orchestra. Now a viola player in the Northern Philharmonia, Ian Killick.
There were no rehearsals apart from the first one on Sunday morning, and then you were just doing concerts twice a day for 17 weeks with no rehearsals. I mean, the sight reading one had to go through was really, really quite daunting. But of course, wonderful experience. The main thing one gets out of it, and I'm sure this is the case with all the players who've been in Scarborough with Max, is sort of confidence. Because, you had to just go along and play. He used to sometimes, in the morning concerts, sort of unknown to us, hide behind a pillar. And, if something went rather wrong or wasn't particularly as you liked it, he used to, in the evening, just come up to you and give you a little word of advice.
The Spa Orchestra gives 2 concerts a day. In the morning, weather permitting, it plays outside. The audiences doze, have their 11s, or just think their private thoughts. The morning concerts are directed by the pianist Vincent Billington.
The thing that amuses me, this job compared, say, to the Free Trade Hall in Manchester or the Royal Festival Hall, is quite unique. Come out of the house at night, you wander down the cliff thinking that you're going to play the Rhapsody in G minor by Brahms, and somebody stops you on the way and says, hey, how about the Ballad in G minor by Chopin? And you finish up playing the Ballad in G minor by Chopin, probably not having practiced it for a few months. That's what makes it so unique.
But after 17 weeks giving 2 concerts a day, the members of the orchestra could be forgiven for occasionally forgetting which day of the week it is, let alone what they're meant to be playing. But Max has no doubt that lack of rehearsal is good, both for the musicians and also for musical standards.
We meet in the band room about 15 minutes or so before the performance. Everybody has their own music. We just go through the music, talk it through. Right, gather round, children. Here is the first lesson. Now, we don't really need to do much about this. The first selection, the Leha, we all know that. Plays itself. And Geoffrey, not too noisy.
Thank you.
Curb your impatience. I mean, if you think we're getting slower, we're not. You're getting quicker. Right. Scarborough Fair. Lovely. Well, listen to Fred very carefully. He gropes his way. Now, after you've groped, you come to this lovely piece by dear old Jack. Adorable piece. And then comes the actual performance. They're sitting on the edge of their chairs and really taking note and enjoying it. But for some of them, they're seeing the music for the first time. It's better in a way. You know, the great Sir Thomas Beecham had the right idea. He hardly ever rehearsed. He just sort of played through the things. And said, in fact, he said, these musicians, they know it all. They played it far more times than I've conducted it. And if I just let them play, they'll play.
Max Jaffa has stayed because Scarborough has wanted him. Despite some decline in audiences recently, he's still good for business. Former tourist chief Don Waterman.
He's got that magic thing about him. He is totally professional to start with. So professional, I've never met anybody more so. He is, he's a fun-loving man as well. And he understands the public, he understands public taste. And when people say to him, why don't you change your program, why don't you bring something up to date, he knows what the public wants and he knows how to deliver it to them. He's an ambassador and a half for Scarborough, and he's gained publicity all over the world, never stops. You'll never hear Max speak anywhere without mentioning Scarborough. He's synonymous with us.
After 27 years, Max and Jean Jaffa have learnt to make the most of their Scarborough summers.
Go on, I dare you.
Lovely. Lovely.
Max's decision to leave Scarborough was neither easy nor clear-cut. In fact, his mind was reluctantly made up for him.
The story was given that in a radio interview, I had said that I was retiring. In fact, I hadn't said anything of the sort. And there should have been a retraction, but really, does it matter? What I'd said was that I'm coming to the end of my present contract. And what happens after that, I don't know. But of course, I am getting on a bit, and people must know that. But at no time did I say that I was retiring. But the paper took it up, and therefore everybody else took it up, and almost made up my mind for me.
In response to a petition that Max should stay, the corporation have pledged only that there will be light music on the Spa next year. That won't be enough to prevent many a moist eye as Max Jaffa makes his final bow this Sunday night.
Last night I should bring buckets of tissues. We'll all be upset.
It'll all be very sad, because Max and Jean have been part of Scarborough for such a long time.
The 27-year record obviously won't be achieved again. That is absolutely fantastic, and it's been a great joy and pleasure to us all.
Last weekend, Scarborough Corporation announced that next season's Spa concerts will be given by the orchestra, the pianists Rosalind Schaefer and the present Spa pianist Vincent Billington. So the music will go on. The first people in the queue for a seat at Max Jaffa's last concert took their place outside the Spa Grand Hall at breakfast time yesterday morning. By the time the doors opened 9 hours later, the trail of people stretched a quarter of a mile. The concert long since sold out to devotees of the Palm Court style, all determined to say farewell to their idol, bowing out after 27 years of unbroken 17-week summer seasons. But for many of the 2,000 fans, last night wasn't so much a concert, more a pilgrimage.
I'm going to try and hold him up because he'll feel sad, and he's done so much for us for 27 years.
He's wonderful. They've both got wonderful personalities, both he and his wife, and she's a marvellous singer. I doubt that we shall see her like again in Scarborough.
Well, it's very special. I've come all my life.
Why?
Because I like the sort of things he plays.
Well, the gentleman, Max, represents stability, common sense, good manners, and isn't that something we're all yearning for goodness sake?
Are you all a bit in love with him, do you think?
Are we all in love with him? No. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, I agree with that. Yes, I do. No.
In the event, the fans, many of whom have grown old with Max and his music, were not to be disappointed. Arrangements by Jack Byfield were followed by the music of Strauss, Noel Coward and Sir Henry Wood. The audience clapped along to the Radetzky March. Then, with scarcely a dry eye, sang along to Roses of Picardy with Max's wife, the contralto Jean Grayston. Events later in the evening which set the seal on Max's 27 years in Scarborough. 25 former members of the Spa Orchestra, now mostly playing in leading symphony orchestras, made the journey back to Scarborough to surprise and thank the man who gave them their break. Max summed up his feelings.
A gentleman wrote to me who I think must have been an amateur statistician, and he reckoned that we played to about 3 million people. So that's a lot. So to all those, even if it was only 2,999,000, I send my everlasting thanks, gratitude, and it's been wonderful.
Then the 27-year reign of Max and Jean Jaffa in Scarborough came to an end, with Land of Hope and Glory, balloons, tears, nostalgia, love and gratitude.